Respected teachers and all my dear friends, my name is Architisham and today I am going to give you a presentation. The topic of this presentation is History of Ancient Mathematics. First of all, let us look at the contents. The contents of this presentation will be Egypt and Mesopotamia. First of all, we will explore the ancient mathematical culture and the way the maths has developed in Egypt and Mesopotamia. Then we will look at number systems, what exactly are number systems and the various types of number systems. Then we will look at arithmetic and geometry, how arithmetic and geometry has developed from nothing to the advanced form of mathematics we know today. After this, we will look at the ancient Hindu and Arabic mathematical culture. This will be followed by the invention of negative numbers and zero, the development of algebra, and finally, the roots of equation. What classifies as ancient? Since the topic of this presentation is history of ancient mathematics, we must first look at what is ancient. So, in the large scale periodization used for Western history, ancient history can be defined as the time period from the distant past to say 5th or 6th century CE. How do we study ancient history? What are our ancient sources? The sources are material objects, images, or texts. These are found as ancient material objects which are transmitted by tradition. What is the condition of the sources? Wherever possible, we focus on reading and understanding the texts. This, however, may not be very easy because a majority of these texts are written in dead languages. There is Cryptographers find it very difficult to decode these dead languages and after that understand what was written in this text. When we study objects without any textual support or evidence, it is very easy to be misled or to have very open ended and unverifiable interpretations. This again is what I was saying, that these texts are written in dead languages and it is very difficult for cryptographers to and mathematicians to understand these texts. Egypt and Mesopotamia. This is where the ancient history of mathematics developed. Egyptian and Babylonian mathematics. A handful of old Egyptian hieratic papyri, wooden tables, and leather rules. A few handful of Middle Egyptian papyri, less than 100 Greek papyri, were written in Egypt, forming a continuous tradition with the older material. Ancient Egypt was an autocratic society ruled by the line of pharaohs who were thought to be divine. Egyptian, a Semitic language, was written in two forms, hieroglyphic and hieratic. A very small group of those professional scribes could read and write. The only evidence we have for mathematics in ancient Egypt comes from the scribal traditions. The study of mathematics was the key components of scribes' education. Scribes are basically the only source of mathematical material we get from ancient Egypt. As we can see in the previous slide, papyri, which are also known as scribes, were very important for this culture. This the the presence of these scribes is what tells us about the advancements and the beginning of development of mathematics in ancient Egypt. The given image shows a scribe. This is written in Egyptian language in hieroglyphics. This is the ancient Egyptian number system. This was the number system used in Egypt. Mesopotamian mathematics. Thousands of clay tablets containing Sumerian and Assyrian written in cuneiform have been found in Mesopotamia. All of this material is scattered around in a number of different library collections, poses many difficulties to scholars and involves many problems of interpretations. These texts are written in dead languages. That is why it is very difficult to interpret these texts, and the interpretations are often open-ended. This provides a lot of problem in mathematics because mathematics cannot be open-ended. Evidence of Mesopotamian number system. This must be only a small fraction of what was once produced, so it is possible that our knowledge of Egyptian mathematics is skewed by the lack of evidence. In this manner, the Egyptian mathematics may be much more evolved and much more developed than what we know today, but we will not know because of the lack of evidence. Egyptian number system. Egyptian number system was a decimal number system. This means that the Egyptian number system had 10 digits. It was not a place value system. Every mark had an absolute value. Place value system is the one we have in which a digit in the given number has two components, a face value and the place value. Egyptian numeral system. This is how fractions were written in Egyptian numeral systems. The Egyptians only used to write unit fractions. They would what we would write 1 by n. They wrote the number with a mark above it and had special symbols for common fractions such as 1 by 2, 1 by 3, 1 by 4 and 2 by 3. Doubling an even numbered fraction is simple. For example, 1 by 10 plus 1 by 10 is equal to 1 by 5. This is very easy because the sum, sum obtained is also a unit fraction. However, doubling an odd numbered fraction is not very straightforward. For example, 1 by 5 plus 1 by 5 equals 2 by 5. But this would be very difficult to represent because the Egyptian number system did not have a representation for 2 by 5. Multiplication and division. The Egyptians carried out multiplication by a series of successive doublings and then additions, as well as inversions. Division is an analogous process using halves and unit fractions. This is how the Egyptians multiplied. In this figure, we can clearly see that the numbers to be multiplied are 89 and 64. Now 64 can be written as the sum of 1, 2 and 64. So first of all, we multiply 89 by 1. Then you double it, so you get the product of 89 and 2. You keep on doubling it till you get the product of 89 and 64. Now when you add the three numbers obtained, you get the product of 89 with 67. The Babylonian number system. The Babylonian number system was a base 60 number system. This is in contrast with our current number system, which is only a base 10 number system. So their mathematics was also at a very advanced form. It was a place value system, just like our number system. But the placeholder, like 0, which in our number system was very inconsistently used. Also, in Babylonian number system, there was no clear division between integers and fractional parts. Egyptians knew that a triangle of side lengths being in the ratio of 3, ratio 4, ratio 5 is a right angle triangle. However, how did they know this? Because Pythagoras theorem was given by Pythagoras, which was not known to the Egyptians at that time. We will not never know for sure, but mathematicians and historians believe that they perhaps used the cut and paste argument. So in the given figure we can see two squares, and the figure clearly depicts that a square plus b square equals c square. This, however, is not a valid proof. Pure or applied mathematics. So the mathematics in Mesopotamia and Egypt obviously started as applied mathematics. They had to use it for measuring the area of their fields and to count their cattle and stuff. But Mesopotamian scribes developed methods for solving many problems that had no immediate practical applications. This is a clear indicator that although it started as applied mathematics, they also ventured to in the field of pure mathematics. Mathematical problem solving appears to have become a mark of distinction in the scribal profession. The scribal profession is also the one because of which we know we are which give us the evidence about the ancient culture of mathematics in Egypt. One major area of application, however, was the development of mathematical astronomy, which was used to predict significant events of heavenly bodies and was a great value as an aid to divination. So, this is how ancient astronomy and ancient maths went hand in hand. Not only ancient, still mathematics and astronomy are brothers. In these ways, the production and teaching of mathematics had a well defined place in the Mesopotamian culture. The next topic is number systems. First of all, what exactly are number systems? The number system, simply put, is a system to represent or express numbers. There are various types of number systems. The most commonly used ones are decimal number system, binary number system, octal number system, and hexadecimal number system. The decimal number system, obviously the one we use in daily life, has a base 10. The binary number system, the one used by the computers, has base 2. Octal number system has base 8 and hexadecimal number system has base 16. Base of a number system means the number of digits which number of independent digits which exist in the number system. Why exactly do we need a number system? So let us talk about what happened before the invention of number system. Thousands of years ago, there were no numbers to represent 2 or 3. Instead, fingers, rocks, sticks, and eyes were used to represent numbers. There were neither clocks nor calendars to keep a track of time. The sun or the moon was used to distinguish between 1 pm and 4 pm. There was a little need of numeric system in the ancient culture until groups of people started forming clans, villages, and settlements and began a system of bartering and trade that in turn created a demand for currency. So the demand of how to count currency or how to look at time, how to tell someone a number instead of actually producing the amount of objects. For example, earlier if we had to represent 4, we would have to hold out 4 fingers. So to remove all this, there was a strong need of number system. So there are many ways in which we can represent our numbers. First one, the oldest one, is the bundle of sticks method. This method is hardly a number system. It works by mapping a set of manageable items, say coconuts, up to something more manageable, say sticks. For each coconut, we select a stick. When we have gone through all the coconuts, we will have the total number of coconuts represented by a bundle of sticks. This may not be counting in any real sense of the word, but at least we have arrived at a magnitude that is easier to deal with. So this was the oldest number system in the world. It is hardly a number system. The second one is 2 count. 2 count can be said as one of the oldest number systems in the world. It works as follows. There are number words for the numbers 1 and 2 and sometimes an additional for expressing many, that is an uncountable magnitude. These are then combined to express larger quantities. This, however, is limited to multiples of 2. as beyond a certain limit. Counting the number of times that word for 2 has been repeated would require a more advanced system itself. So the number word combination can be followed like this. If 2 is represented by Tua, then 4 can be called Tua Tua. 6 can be called Tua Tua Tua. So in this way, the 2 count system worked. The next one is body counting. Body counting is another method for describing magnitudes. Body parts are associated with a given quantity, and by touching them, the given quantity is interfered. The most common example of this is how we learned counting on our fingers. If we assign a value of 1 to each of our fingers, when we have to perform some calculations, or if a child has to count how many chocolates he has, he simply holds out 3 fingers. The next method is tally sticks. Tally sticks is a very old method and still it has been used up till the 1800th century. Not only limited to notches on sticks, tallies are most likely the oldest means of recording quantities in human history. As I said, even though this is very old, it has been used for accounting till 1800th century. A tally stick is simply a piece of wood in which notches have been made, representing some quantity. More advanced forms have different notches, that is, deeper groups or cross notches to represent larger quantities. For recording some transfer of goods, were sometimes made and split in two along the tally so that later the transfer could be validated by both parties. When used for recording debts, tally sticks were often made shorter as parts of the debts were paid, removing notches corresponding to the returned amount. The future number systems. So the number systems we use today are that of the base 10, but this is not a very advanced number system. Although our modern decimal place value fully ciphered number system has worked miracles in the achievement of mathematics for our everyday calculations, the base 10 is not always the best because it is only divisible by 1, 2 and 5. As a result of this, if there is if there is a rational number in its simplest form, it will only have an terminating decimal place when the denominator can be represented as a product of only 2 and 5. If some other numbers are used, then then the number will not be a terminating decimal point. It may be a recurring decimal. Some argue that a base of 12 would work better as it is divisible by 1, 2, 3, 4 and 6, which could make many calculations a lot easier to perform, at least the ones in head. In other parts of our number system, however, there seems to be a stability that implies that not much will change in those respects. It has evolved over many millennia, and perhaps it has reached some sort of perfection. But not seeking for better representation would be foolish, as history has shown that the great leaps in our understanding of numbers have been made simply on simple ideas. The Babylonian number system. The Babylonian number system was very advanced even for today's standards. It was a base 60, that is called sexagesimal, rather than a base 10 decimal number system. Base 10 is what we use today. The Babylonians divided the day in 24 hours, each hour into 60 minutes, and each minute into 60 seconds. This is the form of timekeeping we use today. This form of counting has survived for over 4000 years. That is why Babylonians are also known as the timekeepers of the society, because they were the ones who invented the process of timekeeping. The Babylonian number system began with tally marks, just as most of our ancient mathematical systems did. The Babylonians developed a form of writing based on the cuneiform. The Chinese had one of the oldest systems of numerals that were based on sticks laid on the table to represent calculations. The Roman numerical system is still used today, although the symbols have changed. The ancient Romans often used 4 as III instead of IV. Today, the Roman numerals are used to represent numerical chapters of books or for the main divisions of outlines. The Hindu-Arabic number system is perhaps the most advanced number system that is in common use. More on this later in the presentation. So this is an example of the Chinese number system. This is an example of the Roman numeral system, which we have all learnt in lower classes. So I represents 1, V represents 5, X represents 10, L represents 50, C represents 100, D represents 500, and M represents 1000. And if we use an I before a V, it will represent 5 minus 1, that is 4. If we use an I after a V, it will represent 5 plus 1, that is 6. Arithmetic and geometry. In this topic, we will discuss how basic things such as arithmetic and geometry started when they stemmed as a need for basic counting and calculations, but have now become a very advanced form of mathematics. The Sumerians in southern Mesopotamia, which is a part of modern day Iraq. Mesopotamia is what we know as Iraq today. So, Sumerians in southern Mesopotamia developed a written language in about 3000 BCE. It was around the same time that they developed the first school of mathematics. People understood geometry and algebra by 2000 BCE, by which time Sumer had already become a part of Babylon. Around this time, both the Babylonians and the ancient Egyptians were aware that the number pi is an irrational number and it is the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. So, if a straight line is falling on two straight lines, it makes the interior angle on the same side less than two right angles. The two straight lines, if produced indefinitely, meet on that side on which the angles are less than two right angles. This statement basically means that if a straight line intersects two other straight lines, then they will meet at that side of the first line where where the sum of angles is less than 180 degree. So this statement is a very common sense statement, and yet this axiom is one of the foundations of ancient mathematics. So this statement is one of Euclid's axioms. Euclid was among the first people who studied geometry and arithmetic and their interconnection. So Euclid is known as the father of geometry. He gave many axioms and postulates, and he is very famous for explaining the things the way he did. So Euclid is known as the father of geometry. Ptolemy is another very famous mathematician, ancient mathematician. Ptolemy once asked Euclid if there was no shorter route to the geometry than through the elements. The Elements was the book which Euclid had written, and it remains one of the most famous and the most popular books in maths, even in modern life. So Ptolemy once asked Euclid if there was not a shorter route to geometry than through the elements, to which Euclid replied that there was no royal route to geometry. So the the picture is of Euclid, and the five Euclid's axioms, which are the foundation stones for modern geometry, they are: given 2 points, there is one straight line that joins them. A straight line segment can be prolonged indefinitely. A circle can be constructed when a point for its center and the distance for its radius are given. All the right angles are equal. if the straight line falling on two straight lines makes the interior angle on the same side less than the two right angles, the straight line, if produced indefinitely, meets on that side on which the angles are less than the two right angles. The practical need for counting, elementary measurements, and calculations became the reason for emergence of arithmetic. This started even before the barter system, when shepherds had to count their sheep or people had to count their cattle. But after the emergence of barter system, the invention of arithmetic became a burning need. The first authentic data on arithmetic knowledge is found in the historical monuments of Babylon and ancient Egypt in the 3rd and 2nd millennia BC. The big contribution to the development of arithmetic was made by the ancient Greek mathematicians, in particular Pythagoreans, who tried to define all the regularities of the world in terms of number. Pythagoreans worshipped rational numbers, and they thought that rational numbers were the thing which could define the entire universe. Hindu and Arabic mathematical advances, or the Hindu and Arabic system. The Hindu and Arabic numeral system is the most common system and the most advanced system in the world that is in common use. The Hindu-Arabic system is designed for positional notation in the decimal system. This number system has been widely adopted in the West. So this shows how the number system developed, starting with Brahmi. Brahmi is the script in which Hindi is written. So the first numbers were like this. After this, the Hindu script, followed by the Arabic script. The Hindi numbers traveled to Arabia, which is why the number system is known as Hindu-Arabic number system. So followed by the medieval number system, and this is the modern number system that we use today. The origin of Hindu-Arabic numerals. The Hindu number system, as we know it today, for it is more or less the one we use today as well, can be attributed to two men, the great Hindu astronomer Aryabhatta and his pupil Bhaskara I during the period of 499 to 522 BCE. Aryabhatta invented a number system that was based on using syllables and combining them to form greater numbers. Bhaskara I simplified the system somewhat and made a decimal place value system. The Hindus had used a decimal system for a long time and even had a zero before this time, but it was not until these two astronomers came up with their system for forming numbers that the system was more or less complete. Aryabhatta and Bhaskar I have a great contribution to zero. Zero existed even before them, but they are responsible for the entire systematic representation and the systematic notation for values of zero. This is how it spread across the world. The zero was very important in the development of Hindu number system, as it allowed for introduction of a place value decimal system using only 9 other symbols. A systematic place value decimal system is one of the greatest features of Hindu-Arabic numeral system. This made calculations much simpler than any previous system could have provided. The zero later reached the Arabs, who were not very fond of it. Even the Al-Khwarizmi, who had given the name to the word algorithm, considered there to be only 9 numerals, even though he himself made use of zero. Adoption in the West. In Christian Europe, the first mention and the representation of Hindu-Arabic numerals from 9 to 0, from 1 to 9 without 0 is in Codex Vigilanus, written in the year 976, written in the year 976 by three monks of the Ryogen monastery. This was followed by the widespread use of Hindu-Arabic numeral system across the West. Aryabhata. Aryabhat is the author of several treatises on mathematics and astronomy, some of which are lost. His major work, Aryabhatiya, a compendium of mathematics and astronomy, was extensively referred to in the ancient mathematic literature and has survived to modern times. The mathematical part of Aryabhatiya covers arithmetic, algebra, plane geometry, and spherical geometry. It also contains continued fractions, quadratic equations, sums of power series, and table of signs. Aryabhatta is the one responsible for zero. So, but Aryabhatta was not only a mathematician, he was a very dignified astronomer as well. His work covers arithmetic, geometry, plane trigonometry, and spherical trigonometry. This is a picture of Aryabhatta. Then Brahmagupta. In the year 628, at the mere age of 30, he composed Brahmasput, Brahmasputa Siddhant, the improved treatise of Brahma, which is believed to be a revised version of the Siddhanta of Brahmapaksha school. Scholars state that he incorporated a great deal of originality to his revision, adding a considerable amount of new material. A good deal of the book is astronomy, but it also contains key chapters on mathematics, including algebra, geometry, trigonometry, algorithmics, which are believed to contain new insights due to Brahmagupta himself. So this is a picture of Brahmagupta in Bhaskara 1. So the given figure we see, sine x degree is equal to 4x times 180 minus 6 divided by 40,500 minus x times 180 minus 6, where x is in degrees. So this is Bhaskara 1's sine approximation formula. This is a rational expression in which one variable for computation of the approximate values of trigonometric series. This was discovered by Bhaskara I, a 7th century ancient Indian mathematician. So, Aryabhat, Brahmagupta, and Bhaskara I, these three are covered, were one of the greatest contributors to the Hindu mathematic culture, the ancient Hindu mathematic culture. The next topic is negative numbers and zero. Sorry, negative numbers and zero. In 200 BCE, the Chinese number system of rod number system represents positive numbers in red and negative numbers in black. They were used for commercial and tax calculations. The amount sold was positive because of receiving money, and the amount spent in purchasing something was negative because of paying out. So a money balance was positive and a deficit was negative. This was written in a poem form which has been translated in English. A debt minus zero is a debt. A fortune minus zero is a fortune. Zero minus zero is zero. A debt subtracted from zero is a fortune. A fortune subtracted from zero is a debt. The product of zero multiplied by a debt or a fortune is zero. The product of zero multiplied by zero is zero. The product or quotient of two fortunes is a fortune. The product of or quotient of two debts is one fortune. The product of or quotient of a debt and a fortune, or that of a fortune and a debt, is a debt. So this was written in poem form, and it was written by none other than Brahmagupta. In India, negative numbers did not appear until the 620 CE in the work of Brahmagupta, who used the ideas of fortunes and depths for positive and negative. By this time, India, a system based on place value had been established in India, with zero being used in number system. So Brahmagupta was not only responsible along with Aryabhatta for the invention of zero, but also he played a significant contribution in bringing negative numbers to India. Pingala, an Indian scholar, used binary numbers, and he was the first one to use shunya for zero as a Sanskrit word. Brahmagupta, a scholar in mathematician in AD 628, first time defined zero and its operation, and developed a symbol for it, which is a dot underneath the numbers. Now we look at the history of algebra. The origin of algebra can be traced to ancient Babylonians, who developed a positional number system that greatly aided them in solving their rhetorical algebraic equations. The Babylonians were not interested in exact solutions but approximations, so they would commonly use linear extrapolations to approximate intermediate values. This also shows that the Babylonians were interested in the applied fields of mathematics because the approximations are of great aid in applied mathematics. The geometric work of Greeks, in, typified in Euclid's Elements, which was a book of Euclid's, provided the framework for generalizing formula beyond the solution of particular problems into more general systems of stating and solving equations. So Euclid not only had a contribution in geometry but also a great contribution in algebra and arithmetic. Roots of equations. Roots in mathematics of a solution refer to a solution to an equation, usually expressed as a number or an algebraic formula. Now this is again a poem. Through art algebraic, the stone tells how old God gave him his boyhood 1/6 of his life, 1/12 more as youth while whiskers grew ripe, and then yet 1/7 ere marriage began. In 5 years there came a bouncing new son, Alice the dear child of master and sage, after attaining half the measure of his father's life, chill fate took him. After consoling his fate by the signs of numbers for 4 years, he ended his life. This is a very famous problem and an ancient poem. So this obviously talks about a man and about the stages in his life in terms of fractions. The solution of this to find out the actual age of the man gives is shown, and it gives out the age of the man is equal to 84. Now this poem was written by none other than Diophantus of Greek. Diophantus was a Greek mathematician who recognized fractions as numbers. He was the first Greek mathematician who recognized fractions as numbers. Thus, he allowed positive rational numbers for the coefficients and solutions. In modern use, Diophantine equations are usually algebraic equations with integral coefficients for which integer solutions are sought. So this is the very famous quadratic formula which I am sure everyone must know. The ancient mathematician Brahmagupta explicitly described the quadratic written in his words instead of symbols. His solution of the quadratic equation was as follows: to the absolute number multiplied by 4 times the coefficient of the square, add the square of the coefficient of the middle term, the square root of the same less the coefficient of the middle term being divided by twice the coefficient of square is the value. This is the equivalent we know as the quadratic formula. This was given by many people independently, but one of them was the great ancient Indian mathematician Brahmagupta. So these are my references for this assignment. Thank you for watching.